we need to show the people that the struggle is worth fighting. Ango Jed, the last time ndiri ku Zimbabwe, I saw a number of people kumusha who fought from around 2000 ku opposition. Vakapisirwa dzimba, vakatorerwa mombe nempudzi and all that. Today, many of them are in a state of, desperation. They don't feel kuti someone has our back. Zvekuti izvezvi Ango Jedi mukati let me fight, and you fight and something happens to you, you may realize that at the end of the day you'll be on your own, and you can't execute a struggle like that. We need to put structures in place to support people who are in the struggle, so that they know kuti the struggle has my back. Then I also realized kuti right now I enjoy my conversations with Ango Jed, but when I go to Zimbabwe, I'm surprised kuti on the ground I don't encounter these conversations. People are kind of focusing on day-to-day living. Kungoti zvangu zvaita nhasi, mangwana zvadai. And it becomes very difficult now for them to engage in such discussions because the focus has been directed elsewhere, and there is an atmosphere of anger, Ango Jed, in Zimbabwe, which is misdirected. We are now directing that anger maybe towards each other, and which we should direct towards the root cause of our problem. And then Charlene talked about religion. Ango Jed, I think ndakambokutumirai that video. Religion has become, when I'm saying religion, I'm not condemning Christianity. It's I'm a Christian myself. But these false teachings, there are people, Ango Jed, vanovhota on account yekuti vangokudzwa naleader wavo kuti tiri kuvhotera hurumende iripo. If the opposition is not going to conscientize these people, I can assure you kuti we have, because tichikura Ango Jed, we used to know kuti the public square in Zimbabwe is occupied by people of ideas. We used to know anamasi plus tole vanani izvezvi pana prophet ndo vaane influence yambo vanamasi plus tole. I mean, it's said. So we need to conscientize the people. And then the issue yamataura yeSADC, these regional organizations, these are not NGOs, they are regional organizations. The way they operate, we need to understand how they operate. I believe that they are very useful, but depending on what we do ourselves as a nation, we need to be able to bring Zimbabwe to a standstill so that they can say we have no option but to intervene and bring Zimbabwe to order. If we are not going to do that, then maybe my last contribution is the question yekuti, going back to what Charlene said about even if they say we are stopping the amendments, we are still going to have an electoral field is 3 even. So what do we need to do? I believe that we need to find ways of building a machine that can remove ZANU-PF under the current electoral conditions. And I think it's possible if we put our thoughts to it, because my electoral reforms, they may not come. We can cry and cry, but they will never come. Then in that, maybe I just want to ask now my question to Charlene. I think Ango Jed, I'm building on the question Yambovunzo and Ango Jed dialogue. Charlene said, no, there are actors that have been involved, that are implicated, who should not maybe drive the dialogue or part of the dialogue. Because my view was, I thought when you ask the Ango Jed, it's a question, this is the dialogue include the ZANU-PF, the broader opposition, civil society, young people, everyone, to say, guys, let's sit down and begin to talk about our nation. What do we need to do? Of course, we have different views, but are there areas where we can converge and say this is what we need to do as a nation? For me, that's my concept of dialogue. Yatinogona kuti tiite as a nation. So I want now to hear from Charlene Kuti. If we are to have dialogue today, who should be leading the dialogue, who should be part of it, and above all, what should be the objective of that dialogue? This is what we want. Because for me, I think we really we need a dialogue of some sort. Even if we say it's a dialogue, vanhu vari opposition vanoti this is what we want, kana kuti include the ZANU-PF yacho and the broader opposition and other stakeholders. So I just wanted Charlene to touch on the question and dialogue here. Thanks.
Right. Okay, Charlene, over to you.
Thanks, Doctor Moses. I appreciate your contributions. So I just want to clarify a few things. So when I'm saying a dialogue, for me, I put a line of distinction between participants in a dialogue and who gets to lead the dialogue. These are two things. Because, for example, President Mnangagwa had that thing called Pollard, the Pollard thing. When you look at that Pollard, we can't, if that thing is set up to solve the crisis of our country, which we have defined here today, it can't then be led by an implicated individual. So leading a dialogue and participating in a dialogue are different things. But he can, of course, come to the dialogue. Of course, he's a participant, he's a player in this. But who then gets to host it? Who gets to chair it? It must be a person who is not compromised or an organization that is not compromised. There's always a need for that particular platform to be established.
Welcome to ZimOne, a platform where every voice matters and every idea counts. This is a space dedicated to nation building, shaped by the thoughts, hopes, and lived experiences of the people of Zimbabwe. From the streets to the classrooms, from farms to factories, from elders to the youth, we bring together brilliant points from different gatherings of citizens across our nation. These are conversations rooted in reality, driven by patriotism, and guided by the belief that Zimbabwe's future is built by its people. Here, we listen, we reflect, and we share ideas that inspire unity, progress, and sustainable development. This channel is not about politics alone. It is about solutions, not about division, but about collective responsibility. Join us as Zimbabweans from all walks of life contribute insights that strengthen our communities, uplift our nation, and shape the Zimbabwe we all want to see. This is our voice. This is our vision. This is nation building together.
Organization, institution, or a group to be able to chair that dialogue with the interest of the nation. And for now, I do not think such will happen if it's led by the opposition or the ruling party or the current crop of leaders, because all of them are implicated in the crisis, whether as a perpetrator or a victim. They can participate in the dialogue by giving their opinion, but it has to be chaired properly by a credible organization that will not be found wanting. So so there must be cross-examination of the host before the dialogue is done, because even with the GNU, you could see that in as much as SADC was there and certain institutions were there, Mugabe's head is seen there, playing with Trankirai, benefiting more, and so forth. And we want to avoid such things where we sit, but what do we achieve? We save the interests of certain people. And I will just give you as a hint there. You have things called national in Zimbabwe, but when you really look at them, there is nothing national. We have a party today that sits, pass a resolution, it becomes a national resolution. Just imagine if that party is given an opportunity to chair a dialogue, it will become something else. We have a party today that presides over something called National Youth Day, but you can't distinguish between even the guests that Nick Mangwana, with all the respect, could show us were their friends from the former liberation movements. It is not even other young people from other parties who are coming to a national thing. And the next thing is, you see, 2013, there's someone. It's a political rally. There's nothing like that called National Youth Day. It's not there. So we need a proper platform for dialogue. ZANU-PF must be there. It's a player. We can't neglect that. The opposition must be there. The church must be there. All people must be there. But my brother, when you are bringing people to discuss something, it is not just what they are discussing. It is also a platform of discussion. It must be as less biased as it can. Yes, we can't, of course, avoid bias 100%. But you being a doctor, I'm sure you understand the language of bias, being a scholar. And we must, of course, make sure that we don't have a biased platform to do that, which is why I respect President Chamisa for not attending that thing called Poland, because it was a manufactured thing which was not going to solve anything. You can't be invited by the implicated to discuss the implication. It's to me not proper. So dialogue is necessary. That is why I say, yes, we may need a local organization, but in my attempt to look for that local institution that can preside over that, I have failed to find one because I see most of them compromised. And I said, young people could be responsible for formulating a platform of dialogue. But then our nation as it is, with its ageist kind of approach to politics, may struggle to find that credible platform to discuss the national question. But what then will this dialogue be about, you ask? I honestly think we need a dialogue around the problem affecting our nation. What is the problem? We need a dialogue around what is the solution. We need a dialogue around how do we move from where we are to where we are supposed to be. When we have an agreement on the problem, the solution, and the methodology of solving the problem, we go forward. Apparently now, that's not what we have. We have people who live in denial mode, with all the respect. There are people, for example, you hear saying 7 years term will, I had arguments being pushed by our brothers and sisters in ZANU-PF that when you increase the term of office or to 7 years, you are going to reduce electoral toxicities. And when you increase to 7 years, they say you are going to take the nation out of the electoral mood, which I contend and say that's a big lie ever told. Why? Because the continuous electoral mode in Zimbabwe is not because of the length of the term, it's because of the disputation around how that term is obtained. And also how the elected individuals are elected. You can't expect a nation that voted for members of parliament and then you remove them to go out of electoral mode. You can't expect a nation that feels there's no free, fair, and credible election to go out of electoral mode. It's impossible. So Zimbabwe must not live in denial mode. To think of extending as a solution to toxicity, to think of extending as a solution to electoralism, it must think of resolving the question of the credibility of the acquisition of the term. And when we refuse that, we are going to be the most sick patient, because the most sick patient is the one whose disease has not been diagnosed, or one who thinks is healthy when it's not healthy because it doesn't look for medication. You must accept your disease and look for the right medication. Right now, the diseases that we are being told are manufactured diseases that make elite feel comfortable. We must face the crisis of our nation. Disputed, discredited national processes that builds disputed and discredited national outcomes that then contaminates the institutions of government, and that then creates a gap between the government and the people, and create a government that is scared of its own people and the people that are scared of their own government. And Joshua Nkomo tells us in a book that I'm reading today that our people are scared of their government and the government is scared of its people. He talks about that in his bio. Very credible thought. And I think this book is one of the best books I'm reading this year, because he talks about that crisis. And that's the crisis you find Zimbabwe in. And he talks about it way before 2018, way before 2023, to demonstrate sanctly that this is not a Chamisa issue. As some people would say that majigis ake at 2023 ne 2020 majigis ake asati asatatombozvarwa kuti adye majigisi nyaya yaivapo. Majigisi awande enyika haasi majigisi ekwaChamisa, majigisi enyika yeZimbabwe. Zimbabwe needs its jiggies. It needs to trust its government, and the only way to do that is when they trust the electoral process on which these leaders are elected.